Hello, welcome to next edition of Andy Collier-talks cricket memorabilia. We've got some good news on Wednesday night. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, Roger Packham will be coming round and we'll be delving into his past of the cricket memorabilia collecting. Hopefully how he got started and his involvement with local historical societies. He obviously wrote the book Cricket in the Park, Lord Sheffield, so he knows a hell of a lot about that era, and also a lot about early cricketers. He knows all sorts of things about early teams around this area, which is the Croydon area, what they used to be, where they used to play. So hopefully we'll be getting some nice useful information out of Roger. He's a big postcard collector, so hopefully he'll bring some of those around. I do believe he started with a postcard from the bookstall at the Oval when he used to frequent. He's a big Sussex man. He's a big member with the Sussex Museum and things like that, so he's a pretty passionate collector. So hopefully we're going to have a good evening with him, get some good information. Anyway, I thought we'd do some a little podcast on research this week. Over the last few weeks I've bought a few things, including 1946-47 sheets from the MCC side to Australia, and with that came along a photograph of which happened to be Joe Travis 11 that played at St Peter's College. Now, I obviously didn't know many of those players there, but you can see the ones on the front there. We've got George Giffin, and for the life of me I thought that was Bonty Noble, but it's not. That turned out to be Joe Travers, which is this fella just along here, that one there with his cap on. And then a bit further along we had Clem Hill, and turned out to be Ernie Jones, this one at the end here. Now, I got hold of St Peter's College and had some correspondence with them. Showed them the photograph, and a lady called Andrea, she came up with some fantastic information for me, including their magazine, which was very useful and had match reports and everything in it. It turned out to be not on the back of it was Clem Hill's 11, 1924, but it turned out to be Joe Travers, who played for Australia one test match. It's his 11, which is an April the 5th fixture, which just happened to be my father's birthday, so that's quite a nice little bit of research. But so we didn't quite know. We thought this chap here might have been Walter Giffin, but it turned out to be Ernie Jones, which is quite nice. And so Clem Hill, he had a game a little bit later in the year with the same college team, with a few different players in it, but generally he was the big draw there. And also there was that chap there, was Gordon Campbell, who played for South Australia and was selected for the 1913-14 tour to South Africa, which was cancelled unfortunately for him. He went as a reserve wicketkeeper, but he happened to be, or seems to be, one of the best products of sporting feats that St Peter's could muster up. So he was obviously quite a player, all sorts of sports, and they gave me a nice. Andrew sent me a nice photograph with him as a prefect. I'm not quite sure what year this would have been. Probably, what year is that? Oh, 1909. So that's quite a nice photograph there of Gordon Campbell, who's in the front. So that got the research going. There's a match report here of Mr Travers' team, and Ernie Jones and George Giffin opened the bowling, and George Giffin actually took 6 for 26, and it was reported that he was had a very short run, but he came very quickly off the pitch, a little bit like Maurice Tate a few years later. So that's quite an interesting read up there. Clem Hill got 19, Gordon Campbell was 15, Ernie Jones was bowled for naught unfortunately, and Travers was 2-0 out. So some quite nice research there. But that's one of the things when you do collect things, you want to know as much about what you've got as possible. So now I've really delved into that photograph, and the college didn't have it either, so now we've sort of transversed, and they've got a photograph of that. And the other week, last week, I showed you a photograph or pictures of the autograph book that came a few weeks ago, which is a fantastic book. Now that lot there are the Australian Olympic team. from 1932. I've actually found the photograph of the Olympic team 1932. So now the task is to find out which one's which. I notice they've got baggy greens on there, so I'll take it they're baggy greens. So it goes right through all sports with looks of things in Australia. But it's a nice photograph of the team there, the Olympic team. So that'll be a nice evening's entertainment. Also in that autograph book was these two, Cyril Richard and Madge Elliott, who actually got married. Cyril Richard was a famous actor in Australia, and Madge Elliott was a famous dancer. Found a nice photograph on the internet of those two, which will obviously enhance the collection of the autograph album. There's a few in there that I can't get, but a lot of tennis players, so I've researched those, American tennis players and Australian. So that's been quite a nice area to collect. But as you know, as a collector, you want to know all the bits and pieces about the things you've got as much as you can, which makes it all the more interesting if you can delve back in history. Autographs are difficult to find out because some of them you can't read, but fortunately the era 30s and 40s they were quite easy to read, so you can find out a little bit more about them. But so that's been a good research project for the last few weeks, and I'm pleased to say that it's gone very well. So hopefully you'll research your bits and pieces you've got in your collection and go from there, and long may it continue. So I hope you've enjoyed this little podcast, and look forward to seeing Roger in the week. See you soon.